It has been 6 months since I started working in VR as part of my weekly routine using the Meta Quest Pro.
Check out all of my screens.
And following the last video I posted about spending a whole week working in VR, I've had a ton of questions. So in this video, I wanted to cover off the reality of what working in VR is actually like, whilst answering some of the questions I got on my last video. What's it actually like? Well, it is both fantastic and frustrating. Now, I think that working in VR has a number of really great use cases for those of you who are, working by yourself from home on a computer for the majority of the time. Maybe you work as part of a team, like, hey, maybe you're even working in tech and you're a developer or an IT engineer, like remotely fixing things for people. Now, working in VR allows you to do your work, but also allows you to be like this semi-social thing if you want to be. You can use one of my favorite VR apps that I've come across called Immersed, and you can just sit in a virtual cafe whilst you do your work like normal and just be in the presence of like other people whilst you're working. I guess it's like the VR equivalent of working from a Starbucks. Like you can still work, but you can also chat with people if you want to, and you also hear like the background chatter of other people having their conversations. Now, what I found whilst working in VR is that it's more like going to the same Starbucks every single time, because over time you'll bump into the same people and kind of build friendships over time. Kind of like the days of like logging onto MSN Messenger after school to chat with your online friends that you made from like the other side of the world, like these random online friends. Now, I think VR working also has another place for those of you just using like a smaller screen. Perhaps it's just like your laptop screen. Using VR, you can replace your, single screen, whatever size it is, with maybe multiple, much larger screens. Like you can make them curved, you can make them flat, you can change the resolution of them. You can also pretend that you have maybe a 49-inch or a 55-inch screen, or maybe 3 27-inch screens. And so, of course, there is this argument of spending so much money on like a VR headset instead of maybe buying a high-quality screen, but that's just like a individual choice that someone makes when like personally considering a VR headset. For example, a single screen might be, quite bulky and large and takes up a lot of space, but it's high quality. It might allow you to play games at like high resolutions and higher frame rates. A VR headset, however, is much smaller, doesn't take up space. It is lower quality, of course, but also provides the ability to immerse yourself into VR games, chat rooms, and just hang out with these people like semi-socially in VR. Now, with that said, I don't think working in VR or working in the metaverse is a replacement for real life interaction. Some weird people have commented this. But for some people who are like working from home, craving interaction, but maybe they have things like social anxiety or maybe even health issues that restricts their mobility, or maybe you're just someone like me who spends a lot of time in front of a computer and who'd rather do it amongst others with some like background hustle and bustle without the time to travel or cost of a Starbucks. Now, for those people, VR working provides huge benefits, and I still think it's healthy to get out and about and see real people in real life. I just think VR or AR has a long way to go before we'll see it replacing that. But there are a lot of people that I can see who would benefit from this kind of way of working. Now, the second most question I get asked all the time is, what is the video quality like? Because as you'll likely see on any screen recording, even maybe I'll throw some up now and see if you can see it for yourself, it's pretty impossible to read the text. Like, everything just looks blurry and pixelated, and generally it kind of just looks like a mess. But honestly, it's really not like that at all. Yes, there is definitely a loss of quality when working in VR compared to a regular desktop monitor, but it is not as bad as recordings make out. Now, it is nearly impossible to show you clearly because, well, recording locally on one of these headsets is a pretty poor quality anyway. Then it gets compressed more. Then it gets uploaded to YouTube, which then compresses the video even more. And it just ends up looking like that horrible mess that you're seeing right now. Now, I wrote for the script for this video whilst working in VR, like I have with many of my scripts. Now, in Google Docs with like font size 10, and I have absolutely no issues reading the text whatsoever. Now, you can make out the pixels on the screen, so it's not as high quality as, say, something like an external monitor, but it is way higher quality than I thought it would be. And in my opinion, it is high quality enough to be working with from anything from like developers coding to IT support to even people I've seen online shopping in VR. Like, it's just great for all of those things. Now, one exception to the rule, I believe, is the Quest 2 is I don't feel high quality enough to be working in VR from, but I know a lot of people that do, and they think it's absolutely fine. But my personal preference now of having like experienced the two is, of course, this is like 3 times the price. It's going to be higher quality. Now, it does kind of suck given the prices of these VR headsets, but this is the worst the pricing is ever going to be, because things are only going to get better from here unless Apple does like a hold my beer kind of thing. Now, I'd love to see Apple or like the Meta Quest 3 significantly step up in terms of like screen quality and like reducing price. And I don't think we're too far off seeing that. Now, one of the other most powerful features I've come across with like this whole working VR thing has been the ability to work with others in like a virtual meeting room with a big whiteboard. It just opens up so many possibilities that meeting across apps like Teams or Zoom, they just can't offer. Like you can speak to people like, face to face, even though it's their like weird avatar thing, but you just kind of get used to that after a while. Now you can all collaborate and work together like you were there in person. Now I can get up and I can draw on the whiteboard and present my ideas and my thoughts and point to things like whilst other people give me their feedback. You can also change the rooms into different layouts, from a general meeting to a presentation to one with breakout tables, so you can speak in like these smaller groups. There is just so much flexibility with how you utilize your VR experience, and that is a big thing that it's got going for it right now. But what are some of the compromises here with working in the metaverse? Now, something you shouldn't compromise on is your online security, and today's sponsor, NordPass, provides a vitally important solution to your security worries. I am a huge fan of password managers. Like I've recommended them to anyone who will listen to me, and even more so if you're running a business. Now, back when I ran an IT business, like too many times I'd see people sticking these post-it notes to their screens or likely even writing their passwords on their keyboards, which, if you ask me, is just like asking for you to lose your job, especially when services such as NordPass allow you to securely store and quickly access information when you need it. From simple passwords to other important information like door or alarm codes, and you can share all of this with your team. And if any of your login information does escape onto the dark web, NordPass will detect and notify you of those breaches early on so you can deal with the issue. Now, we have partnered up with NordPass to give you a 3-month free trial of NordPass Business using the link down below and using code PETENordPass. And please stop using sticky notes. Okay, so battery life is number one. Like, unless you are attached to a cable, no headset's battery life is going to be good enough to run, a good few hours, let alone a full working day.
These small, very thin, very light Apple USB-C cables actually make a really good job.
Number two, comfortability, is that a word? It's okay. Like, at the end of the day, it is still this like lump of hardware that's like permanently sat on your head all day, and it's just obviously not going to be as comfortable as not wearing something. And of course, when you take the headset off after like a long session, yeah, you do get these like red marks all over your forehead, which makes the like UPS guy wonder what you've been up to. Now, at least this is something that I can only see improving over time as like tech gets smaller and faster and lighter, and I really have high hopes to see what Apple comes up with next, to see if they can really take this whole like technology to the next level. Now, thirdly, is VR good for your eyes? Like, some would argue that it's as bad as like sitting up close to a TV, like exactly what we were told not to do as a kid. But after some quick Googling, I realized that's actually not an issue anymore. Like, due to like the advancement in technology, you can basically sit as close as you like to a TV nowadays. Now, for VR, there is still a lot of mixed information about there on both sides of the fence. But again, like as screen technology develops, less people will suffer with things like eye strain. Look, whether working in VR is for you or not, you're probably watching this video to get an idea of whether it's really a possibility that somebody could work whilst you're wearing one of these all day. And I think for the right kind of person, I think this presents a really great option for you. Now, that's not because Mark Zuckerberg or Meta or whatever are paying me, because they're not. And I actually had a really bad experience buying one of these headsets directly from Meta's online store, which then meant I did a chargeback and then bought it again from Amazon. But I can't argue that the experiences that you can have with one of these, whether it's working or gaming, are experiences which we're only ever going to see improve over time. Now, don't forget to check out that 3-month free trial of NordPass Business. And if you want to see what my first week was actually like, you can learn more about that here.